Earlier, nearly 100 people were killed on Sunday as clashes between police and anti-government protesters intensified. The student protests, initially focused on abolishing quotas in civil service jobs, have now grown into a broader anti-governmental movement. The mass protests in Bangladesh began as student demonstrations demanding reforms to the civil service quota system. Students argued that the existing quotas unfairly benefited loyalists of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's ruling party. The Awami League students rejected Hasina's appeal for calm and continued to demand her resignation. Protesters chanted down with the dictator and torched the headquarters of Bangladesh Television, along with other government buildings. The government imposed an internet blackout to curb the unrest. Clashes left at least 32 people dead and hundreds injured, despite a curfew and soldier deployment, following the genocide and ensuing liberation in 1971. Bangladesh adopted a secular constitution. As events evolved, the country underwent a process of Islamization, resulting in a formally Islamic constitution being adopted in 1988. Since then, while secularism remains an essential principle in theory, Islam has played an increasingly prominent role in domestic politics. Right-wing Islamist groups have gained prominence, such as the Jamaat, Islami political party. The radical Hafizat Islam group controls thousands of madrasas, Islamic schools, in Bangladesh, and its members have been systematically arrested and otherwise targeted by police. It is telling that groups with right-wing Hindu nationalist ties, such as the Hindu American Foundation, HAF, loudly condemn the violence in Bangladesh. It is not the organizing that is the problem. It is the selective outrage. Communal violence, which led to the horrific attacks against Hindus in Bangladesh, is the same force that led to the systematic lynchings of Muslims in India and violence against Adivasi people. It is the same violent continuation of partition that leads to functional segregation and uncontrolled hate. To express selective outcry in this incredibly saddening moment is to exploit these tragic acts of violence to perpetuate an Islamophobic agenda rather than diagnosing the core issue. Taking a historical view, one can frame interreligious dynamics through the lens of politics and power instead of the rather simplistic one of religion alone. Solidarity with minorities and victims of religious violence is necessary, and we must not shy away from unequivocal condemnation of such horrific attacks. Simultaneously, it is crucial not to view these events as existing in isolation, provoked because of what one person did to a Quran or orchestrated by the minds of a single radical group. The unfinished business of partition has taken hundreds of thousands of lives, directly and indirectly, and violent antagonism between Hindus and Muslims is a persistent thread of that historical trauma. Bangladesh's task, at both the society and state level, is to reckon with that past and come to a place of coexistence that goes beyond tolerance to embracing pluralism. That requires reconciliation, caring for people's basic economic needs, and a whole host of other events that go beyond addressing the issue of religious hate. Weeding out radical Islam is insufficient at best and a scapegoat for the abuse of police and state power at worst.